Alright, video number 3. Alright. I was a little hesitant to make this video because I didn't prepare very much, but I wanted to make it because I didn't want to overthink it. And I realized that when I start overthinking things, I don't get nearly as much done. So I'm just starting this. There's a few things throughout the past week or so that really stuck out to me. And one of the things is that it was a quote from Willem Dafoe. He's an actor, he's being interviewed, and he talked about perfectionism and trying to make things perfect as he can, studying and practicing and trying to get, he's an actor, so getting the scene just right. And what he said really stuck out to me is he said, just try to fail. And that's a way to beat perfectionism. He said, just try to fail. And what he noticed in that situation is when he tried to fail, it actually went really well for him. And when I heard that, I was thinking I want to try the same thing. Not intentionally try to fail, obviously I don't want to fail, but in order to fight perfectionism, you get wrapped up in everything has to be so orderly and so neat and so perfect that you end up not doing anything. You're paralyzed because at least myself, I can only speak for myself, I know that it's not going to be perfect. And it can almost be like self-defeating, where it's like, why am I even going to start this project? Why am I even going to try to draw this picture, write this song, do this video? If I know it's not going to be perfect, why even start it? So just don't even do it. And that's worse off than it being imperfect. And so that's why I started the video when I did. I was in the middle of driving and I just hit record, and I just want to see where it goes, because I'm actually a little curious myself. So with that, and I've been working on so many different projects or so many different things that I don't really have time to make each thing perfect, but I have a sense of urgency right now that I just want to get them done. I just want to get things done. I'm getting older. I'm 38 years old right now. My birthday's next month. I'll be 39. Year and a half separated from my wife, going through divorce right now. Middle-aged. I feel like when you're watching a movie and that thing, the little indicator is showing you're halfway through the movie, that's my life right now, assuming that I'm going to live until I'm 80 years old, which we're not guaranteed tomorrow, so anything could happen. So I have this sense of urgency of things that I've been wanting to get done, but I haven't gotten done. So I just say, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. Try to fail. At least you'll get something done. And the great thing about trying to fail and getting something done is you can always go back and fine-tune it a little bit. But at least you're getting the bulk of it out. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to do so many different things right now that it can kind of be overwhelming if I allow myself to be overwhelmed. But I just want to keep moving forward, just keep chugging along and just keep doing it. And it's actually really energizing. It's really exciting because I have all these different ideas and they're getting done. And that's it's rewarding too, because it's not perfect, like I said, but you're getting one thing done and you can kind of check that off your list and go on to the next thing, and it builds momentum, and it's so exciting, and it just makes me feel good. And hopefully, and it's something that I want other people to benefit from too, but even if they don't, then I'm really just doing it for myself. And if other people benefit from it or other people like it, then that's great too. That's like a win-win. And so making this video, I've been making other videos of just driving around the countryside of Japan. And so I'm learning how to film videos, I'm learning how to edit videos. I bought a new stabilizer gimbal thing, which I'm still figuring out. it's fairly straightforward, but messing around with the settings and the app settings and stuff like that, it makes me, like, having just made videos, like right now, this video, my phone is being held by like the little cell phone holder that you have in your car. So I know the video is really shaky, and I know it's probably garbage if you're watching this full screen, but I just want to get it done. And I'll learn how to make it better as time goes on. And so like that's why I bought the stabilizers, because I really want to make better videos. And little by little, just making it a little bit better than it was the time before, then that's going to be a good thing. Right now I'm using this microphone in my headphones, you know, that's like, it's obviously wired going into my phone. I'd like to eventually get like a wireless mic, so I don't have to deal with this. But that's just a progression of things, and that's just one example. You know, making videos is one example. I also do photography. I need to set up my workstation at home. I bought a desk not too long ago. Still have to set up my computer and workstation and everything too. I've been looking for computer, like a desk chair, and just setting up my life, setting up my room to where I can just get work done easily and I don't have to think about it. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of stuff kind of like sitting on the edge of my bed using my desk because I don't have a chair and I don't have a computer screen right now. I have a laptop computer, but I also have a desktop that's a Mac Mini that I need the screen for it. And I want something larger that I can actually use and I can see, and I can just, for getting stuff done, it just makes it so much easier to have a desk. And when I don't have a desk, I'm sitting on my bed, sitting on the couch. You know, I bring my laptop to work, so I'm sitting in tiny little chairs at work. So I need, for myself, in order to be more efficient, more effective, having like my own workstation. And so that's another thing that I've been working on as well. So yeah, photography, these videos. I'm an English teacher too, teaching little kids. And just breaking things down into its simplest form. So I'm creating my own calendar, my own date tags, stuff like that to develop pattern recognition so they can learn their shapes and their patterns. And creating my own workbook. So I have created my own workbook, a very basic, you know, the ABCs, how to write them, capital letters, lowercase letters, and like the dotted lines, you know, and that little arrows showing like which way to, you know, use your pencil and write the letter. But also going in depth and showing like the phonograms, like the different sounds that each letter represents. So for example, like A makes 3 sounds, like a, ah, and then having individual words with each one of those corresponding sounds. And it was a really big deal for me when I finished that. I felt really accomplished and, you know, really like praising myself. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do that. If you're doing things, like for me in the past, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. This is dumb. Nobody's going to use it. All this negative talk. But now that I'm like doing things and I'm accomplishing things, I'm trying to just motivate myself. Not motivate myself, but like praise myself when I actually do something and I get it done, something that I had on a plan or one of my goals. And so yeah, my workbook. And one of the things with that too, I really want to, I can do illustrations myself, but I really want consistent, professional looking illustrations for it because I'd like to market it and sell it and make some money. Because I put a lot of time into it, so getting some money, I'm always hesitant about talking about money too, because, you know, if you love doing something, you should do it for free. I heard that somewhere, and it's like, and I believed that for the longest time. My mindset on that has changed a little bit, because if you're putting in time and effort to learn all these things and then compile all of your knowledge into something and making a workbook, it's not wrong to want to make money to compensate yourself for that time and effort that you put into that. And so that's kind of a side note. So my mind on that has changed a little bit. So like I said, I want professional images, consistent images, and I really want to market it towards, like, living here in Japan, they have a dollar store called Daiso, which they're coming out with those in America too, more and more. And they sell these little workbooks for kids learning Japanese. And I noticed they didn't have any English ones. And English in Japan, like students in Japan, they start learning English from a young age. Like myself, I'm teaching at a kindergarten right now. And that's kind of rare. So if kids are learning English in kindergarten, that's actually a really good thing. But they all start learning English at least from elementary school. And if these parents can get a workbook for their kids for $1 or for 100 yen at the dollar store, you know what I mean? Like, that would be very beneficial for them. Because, like, I really want to market it towards, like, people are, like, maybe struggling, like, lower income. Because, you know, it's hard having kids, and it's hard living life not making a whole lot of money. And you know, parents want the best for their kids. And so I really want quality content. I put a lot of time and effort and thought into this. And so those kids will, like, benefit from these workbooks. And yeah, so I really want to do that, but I don't know how. So I've been learning that myself too, of like marketing, which goes completely against, you know, my ideals or, you know, what I used to think. But it's been a little bit reframed. I'm looking at it in a different way now. And so I'm seeing it as a way where it can benefit people. And I'm not thinking about the money and trying to make as much money as I can. No, I don't want to do that. Being properly compensated, like I said earlier, for the time and effort that I put into creating this, then yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Because it'll be benefiting these kids, it'll be benefiting these families too, because it's a lower cost, and it'll be benefiting me too. So it's all around, it's good for everybody. And with those workbooks, I really want, tying into like making these videos and getting better at editing videos, because I want to have like a QR code or something attached to these workbooks to where they can scan it with their phone and it goes to a YouTube page of like pronunciation, and I'm working through these workbook pages with them and helping them with pronunciation. Because another thing in Japan, like eventually further on in their school careers, students, their grammar becomes very good. They're very good at grammar. They're very good at writing, sentence structure, and all this other stuff. One of the things that they're lacking, though, is proper pronunciation. And one of the things that would be beneficial is, you know, having an American accent. According to most people in Japan that I talk to, they consider it kind of like an accentless. Like, there is no accent. It's just American. You know, British accent can be very, it can be very strong. Australian, New Zealand can also be very strong. And so having an American accent is kind of what people want. And I tend to talk a little bit slower than most Americans, and so when people hear me speak, they always tell me that I'm easy to understand, because when they talk to other Americans, it's very difficult for them to understand because the Americans talk a little too fast. And so just the way that I am and the way that I talk would be beneficial for them as well. So those are all the things that I'm working on right now. And I don't know, like I said, it's exciting and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibilities, but I don't know, I just really want to do it. I just think it'll be fun. And it is a lot of work, but it doesn't matter. I enjoy doing it, so it doesn't seem like work. Man, that's like, I was talking pretty fast just there for a while. Anywho. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to tie all this stuff together. I have too many hobbies and activities that I enjoy doing. It's nice that it's kind of all coming together. Sorry, it's a little noisy right now. I had to crack the window because it's getting warm in here. It's a nice overcast day today. It's actually cool outside. driving right now through the countryside going from Chiba City to Katsuura. Katsuura is a small beach town. My friend has a beach house there having Mexican food today. So I picked up some tea and headed there kind of for like just a party, get together with a few friends. Just kind of show up whenever. Oh yeah, today is Easter, so happy Easter. I actually, let me grab this. I actually have some frankincense in my car that I like to keep in here. I don't know too much about it, but from my understanding, frankincense is usually to be burned either on Good Friday or on Easter Sunday. I can't remember. From some, I don't know, some church history. I don't remember which one. But yeah, it smells really good. I did watch The Passion of the Christ yesterday, the Mel Gibson movie. It's been so long since I've seen it, you know, kind of growing up. I say kind of growing up in a Christian home because we didn't start going until I was in junior high. And I think if you grow up in a Christian home, I think it's technically you're like a little kid. Anywho, watched The Passion of the Christ yesterday. And when it first came out, I didn't really care for it. I thought it was kind of cheesy, whatever. I didn't really care for it when it first came out. I think a reason for that too is that everybody at church was just over the top excited about it. And I didn't really see what the big deal was. So I rewatched it yesterday and I was wrong. Like, it's actually a really good movie. It's really well put together. It's really, I don't know. I really like the cinematography of it. I like the colors of it. I like how the subtle changes in his eyes. I like how, you know, Satan is represented. A lot of imagery is represented. I don't know. It was just really good. I really enjoyed it. And it's extremely brutal and gory. But it really brings to life a story that, if you've grown up in the church, the story that you've heard over and over and over and over before, and it kind of loses its meaning. Sadly, like, the more you read it, it kind of, like, when you say a same word over and over and over, you start saying it and you're like, what am I even saying? You know, and the word loses its meaning. It almost sounds ridiculous. And so, yeah, it really just brought it to life. The imagery, it's very difficult to watch in some places. And then also in some places too where, you know, Judas, you know, in the story, Judas betrays Jesus and he gets paid 30 pieces of silver. And when he goes to show them, like, who Jesus is, like, he betrays him with a kiss. So he kisses him, like, on the cheek, you know, which in that culture is just kind of like, it's normal for, like, men to kiss each other on the cheek, like they're friends. So he betrays him, and the story of Judas has always been interesting to me. Even more so the past 5 to 10 years of just, you know, thinking, like, if it wasn't Judas, it would have been somebody else, right? Or it would have happened a different way. But this idea that the Christ is dying for the sins of the world, and he's dying for everybody, and it seems like everybody plays a role, everybody has a role or their station in life. It just makes you wonder, like, did Judas have a choice? You know, is this supposed to happen this way? Or it's just very interesting. It's just very interesting. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm going by, it's a 64 Impala. I'm driving by, this is called Mobara Twin Circuit. So it's a racetrack where people go drifting. And apparently they have other cars out there too. I saw a white 1964 Chevy Impala and a few other classic cars that were in the distance. I couldn't really figure out what they were. So yeah, anyway, the story of Judas, this whole idea is Judas going to heaven when he dies, all this other stuff, and then, you know, the robbers or the criminals on either side of Jesus who are also crucified with him. And the one man, he says, today you'll be with me in paradise. I had a discussion with a friend about, you know, just like that concept, that idea of, you know, people who believe in Jesus are going to heaven, and if you don't confess Jesus as Lord, then, you know, you're going to hell, according to Christianity, or mainline Christianity. A lot of people believe that. And one of the things and that's never sat well with me. It just never has. Because I don't feel like that's our place to make those decisions or to make those judgments, really. And, you know, watching this movie and Judas does what he does. Alright, my last video cut out. Apparently I was recording in high definition. And I usually record in a lower resolution so I can do a longer video. So I didn't realize that, so it cut out in the middle of what I was talking about. I was kind of talking about Judas, the Passion of the Christ, and Judas's role, kind of like in that whole story, in the history of humanity, and how, I think, from my last video I mentioned this too, about how everybody's created in the image and likeness of God. God breathed into the dust. And so, the story of Judas is interesting because I think he's in heaven right now with Jesus. So, I know a lot of people disagree with that. I don't care. That's my idea. We're not meant to be right or wrong. It's not really our place. Anyways, so this is the next day. It's a morning. I'm driving to work right now. In Chiba City. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think about what to talk about. I'm a little thrown off because I'm still in the mindset of just like going to work, getting ready. Yeah, so just kind of going through a lot of changes. Started living in Japan again the end of January. Doing a lot of self-work. You know, partially since splitting up with my wife. But I was even doing it before that, probably since 2018, when I joined a men's group that was members of the church that I was going to at the time. And we were going through a book. It's called The 12 Steps of the Spiritual Journey. And it's based on the 12 steps, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous 12 steps. And it was really good. It's just like having that support group and just talking about just real life, about real struggles that we go through on a weekly basis. We met every Friday night, so it just kind of have like an update of how our week was going, things we were struggling with, things that we're actually improving on, books we're reading, movies, other things that we're, you know, influence us. And so yeah, it was really good. It was, like I said, been doing that since 2018, pretty consistently every Friday night up until I left for Japan, which, yeah, probably last summer. That was in Arizona. And yeah, I just grew a lot, learned a lot from Carl Jung, Jordan Peterson, some other books too. Read The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. other kind of personality books, but also kind of business books. One that really stuck out to me is Napoleon Hill's, what's the name of that one? I can't even think of it right now. I'll think about it. Think and Grow Rich. That's what it is. Think and Grow Rich. And another influential person for me in my growth was Bob Proctor. And he had this idea, and he'd always say this in his seminars and his videos and stuff like that, is like, you're already rich. Like, everybody's already rich. We just don't have the money. So, not all of us have the money, but everybody's rich. And like, there's a lot of truth to that. And, you know, other people I've been following on YouTube and videos and seminars I've been listening to, saying like, you're already rich. So even if you don't have a lot of money, if you can't enjoy nature and you can't enjoy the things that you already have, and you can't be grateful, gratitude is a big thing too. If you can't be grateful for the things that you already have, when you get tons of money or you get everything you've ever wanted, you're still going to be the same as you are right now. So if you're upset right now, if you're sad right now, if you're not, you know, happy with your station in life right now, if you get everything that you want or you have tons of money, you're going to end up feeling the same exact way you are right now. And there's a lot of truth to that. I know that because I've experienced that. I've never been rich, but I wouldn't say I've been poor. I've been extremely lacking of money. And the most important thing is your mindset and the people that you have around you. Like when I was in college, barely able to pay rent, barely able to pay for gas, barely able to pay for food, working what I would consider full-time, but part-time work at Target. They have you just under 40 hours a week, so they can't give you benefits, but they don't have to. Going to school, what was I, like 16 credit hours or something like that. Something crazy. And full-time work. And volunteering at a church. So all these things that are going on, and I'm barely able to pay for everything. And it was like the most fun I've ever had in my life. You know, being in college is essentially like being at summer camp for 2.5 years. And so yeah, your mindset determines a lot of things. And I even have to remind myself that sometimes, because there's times where I just become overwhelmed with everything that's going on. And yeah, I was just journaling the other day, just compartmentalizing everything in my mind and everything that's going on in my life, just because I have to see kind of like a roadmap type of thing. I have to see a visual of things. And writing it down helps me see it better, helps me process it better. And then journaling, actually like where I want to go, what I want to do. And it's highly likely that if I write something down, then I'm going to do it. And I'm pretty sure research and studies have shown all that stuff too. But I know for me, it definitely works. If I write it down, I'm going to do it. And so that's goals, ideas, even ideas that I have, you know, driving around, idea pops into my head. Instead of saying like, I'll write it down later, I've said that in the past and then I completely forgot. Now that idea is gone. So when you get it, I have to write it down. I use the Notes app in my phone or a notebook in my backpack that I always have with me. Yeah, ideas are always coming through my head. And I usually write most of them down. It could be an idea for a worksheet, for something for teaching at school, a game idea, be a song idea, a screenplay idea. Screenplay is something like I've only gotten into recently. I've always had stories going through my head. I just, for as long as I can remember. I never took it seriously though, until I read Rick Rubin's book and just made it a point to write down everything, as much as I can, things that are coming through my head, and just taking it and seeing what happens with it. And last week I was walking through the park, and I just sat down on a bench. For some reason, I was walking by, and there was just like an old lady just walking by, and her whole like pretty much like her life story, my imagined life story of her kind of popped into my head, and I just started writing. I just started writing, and it was probably like an hour or something like that. And I reread it when I was done. I was like, man, this is actually really good. And it's something I want to expand on. So yeah, things like that, just random sparks of inspiration or whatever you want to call it. So just going with that. Yeah, so journaling, writing things down, usually get it done. Yeah, so I was just journaling everything that I'm doing, and I'm legitimately interested in most things. But now that I'm getting older, as I was saying earlier, I feel like my time is limited. Everything's a bit more urgent. And I have too many things going on. In my opinion, I feel like I have too many things going on. So I kind of have to trim or kind of prune things down so I can focus on fewer things and do them better. Or at least a little bit better. And that sucks. I don't like that. Because I like just following my interests, following, whatever in the moment, whatever I'm interested in. And that is good. But I also do at times lack consistency and determination in actually finishing something. And so right now in my life, I'm really focusing on just finishing things and fighting perfectionism. I'd rather have something than nothing. And if I finish something and it's not perfect, it's never going to be perfect. But even if it's finished, then I at least have something. And even with music, like a few weeks ago, I went to visit my friend in Osaka, and we finished a song together. He really helped me out a lot. And even that's finished, and I've been listening to it over and over, it's still not exactly what I want. So I don't believe it's finished. I want to tweak it a little bit more, but it's good enough for now. And I do like it. It's a really good song. I'm very proud of it. And I'd like to share it somehow on here, do another video. Yeah. I don't really know what to talk about right now, so it's going to be quiet for a little bit. I really do need to start jotting down bullet points, talking points that I want to cover in these videos. That is one of the things, rewatching the older videos, and different little things that I want to improve on. Because I notice that I still do it from time to time. I say like a lot. Try not to say I don't think I say I don't like those pauses like that. And I want to do more exercises with my mouth. I feel like I have a little bit of a lisp. I don't really like that. that's not how my voice sounds when I'm talking, like when I hear my own voice when I'm talking in my head. Not in my head, but when I'm actually talking out loud. It's not how I hear myself. So when I'm rewatching a video, I sound very different than I think I sound. So, there's other videos on YouTube that I've came across that, just doing different exercises and speech and stuff like that. I don't think I don't know, for some reason I don't remember myself talking like this in the past. I'm a little self-conscious of it. I don't really like it. So I want to change it. It just doesn't sound like me, in my opinion. But it obviously does sound like me because that's how I talk. Anyways, that's the whole thing on self-improvement and people posting stuff on YouTube. You can learn anything you want these days. Anything and everything is on YouTube. And I love learning new things, and these things that I'm learning on YouTube, in the past, you'd have to buy like a video set on TV. A kid of the 90s, right? Those late night infomercials. Even in the middle of the day, you have to buy like a 6 VHS set of how to learn something new. It was usually real estate, dudes with yachts, and I don't know, probably pretty sketchy back then. Anyways, all of that stuff is on YouTube nowadays, and it's great, and it's free. And if you're pretty discerning and you watch a lot of somebody's content, and they typically have like a paid program, like you can buy their course or something like that. But one of the things is, if you watch all their videos, you're probably gonna get the same content that they're selling you. And this is me speculating. I don't actually know, because I bought maybe 1 or 2 courses, in the past 10 or 15 years. But usually you could kind of like dissect it, filter out, and probably take an educated guess on what you're going to learn in their paid course. But they're giving you that content for free already. You just have to compile it yourself and, kind of condense it yourself. Maybe. I could be 100% wrong on that. But that's how I learned stock trading and investing. And yeah, that was during COVID. I got into that. It's like, why am I paying into this 401k to this random company? Not random, it is a reputable company. But I don't know what they're doing with my money. And so I wanted to learn that. What do you look for in a legitimate business? How do you know this business is going to do well or if it's going to tank? And then obviously trading stocks, it's like some of them are very high risk, high reward, and you just kind of have to know if it's going to be like a pump and dump, if everybody's just buying into it, spiking, and then everybody takes their money out and it crashes. It's definitely a learning curve. But that's really fun. I'm still learning about stocks and investing and businesses, and I can't remember what I shared in the video that I recorded yesterday, but I'm learning more marketing and business side of things to market my workbook. I do now remember I did say that earlier. And all of that stuff is really interesting. Kind of tying this back to Rick Rubin's book, and I forget the title of it right now. It's been a while since I've read it. Anyways, he's talking about kind of like an artist mindset type of thing. And if you think of artists, usually like musicians, painters, poets, stuff like that. But I've noticed a lot of people that are in business and people that are really good with social skills and communicating with other people, interacting with other people, that is definitely an art. And I believe a lot of people have natural talent when it comes to art. Some people are just naturally gifted abilities at painting or with words, just playing with words and writing poetry, or even with music. Different musicians. Some people could just pick up an instrument and just do it. And people are like that with social skills. Some people can just do it, others can't. And I'm glad that there's so many things on YouTube that you can learn those things if you're not naturally gifted at it. Because I believe human beings can learn anything. If you're determined enough and you set your ego aside, you can pretty much learn anything that you want. It might take you longer, but you can do it. And that's the mindset that I have. And things that I want to do, things that I'm not good at but I want to do, I just learn as much as I can. And learning, how do I say this? Learning from YouTube is good, but it can just become like where you're just watching videos all the time, but you're not actually doing anything. So there has to be like a balance between listening and learning something, but then like the practical application of putting it into action. And there has to be a balance. And I've noticed this in myself in the past of just learning so much of something and you feel like you have to be perfect at it. You have to know everything about it. Like, that's not true. You don't have to know everything about a thing before you could do it. Usually you learn more when you're stumbling forward, when you're trying to do the thing that you want to do, and you know just enough to get started. And I actually think that's better. I hesitate to say better. I think that's healthier. I think that's more beneficial. Because you're going to make mistakes. And mistakes are really good learning opportunities. And I don't believe in failure. I do. Failure, you only fail if you stop trying. And that's something I wish I could have told myself a long time ago. Failure is only failure if you stop trying. Mistakes are lessons. Mistakes are something you can learn from. So it's actually good to make mistakes. It's beneficial to make mistakes. And it's almost like the more mistakes you make, the better. Because now you have more information, you have more data on how to improve the thing that you're wanting to do. Like when I was learning stocks, I made so many mistakes, but I was so determined to learn how to do this that it didn't matter. I saw mistakes as I was extremely grateful for the mistakes that I made and learning from them. Now, obviously, if you make a mistake, you make the same mistake, it can be really frustrating and you could get really discouraged. And that still happens. I still make that same mistake because I'm like, oh, this time it's going to be different. And I know in my mind it's a poor choice, but I still do it. But I know in that moment that I'm not doing the ideal thing. And it is a little risky. So I know that in the moment, whereas before I didn't. And so, yeah, making the same mistake over and over, it might be necessary. It might be necessary for you to learn that lesson. But in general, making mistakes. When I'm teaching kids how to write their name or write the ABCs at work and they're making mistakes, those are actually good things because then you can correct those mistakes. But one of the things that is not good, I've had just a few students, just a handful of students be like this over the past, 13 years that I've been teaching, is that if they make a mistake and they just shut down and they're crying and they don't want to engage with the task again, that's more difficult to deal with. Like, and I don't know why. I don't know why they just shut down. So, because I'm trying to help them in that moment. Versus the kid who's just scribbling his name and trying to do it as fast as he can. It's like making mistake after mistake after mistake. He's actually learning more than the student who just shuts down. And so yeah, mistakes are learning lessons. And yeah, something I wish I would have known earlier. Because being a perfectionist, you're actually afraid to make mistakes. You see mistakes as the enemy. And I think it might have something to do with ego. And not wanting to look like a failure. And of course, when somebody's in the moment and they make a mistake, they look like they failed at something, but I don't know, I think to have an idea if somebody failed or not, even including yourself, you have to have more data. It's more of a long-term, you have to look at it more long-term, not just in the moment. Because obviously in the moment, just in the short term, it can look like failure, but like I said before, I believe failure is when you just decide to give up. And giving up that's never a good feeling. There have been moments where I've given up, but it was just a prolonged, just taking a break and then getting back to it. Like right now, just getting back into playing guitar. I used to be good at guitar, and then I stopped playing and stopped practicing. And right now, yeah, when I look at where I could be now had I stuck with it consistently, it makes me a little bit upset, but I don't know. I was doing other things at the time, so I'm not really upset. But just now, I don't know, and that's one of the things on my list where it's like, do I want to continue doing this? Obviously, I want to continue playing guitar. I love music, I love playing guitar. But just putting in the time and the dedication that's needed to improve, because I feel like I hit a wall. And, so I just sit down in front of the wall until something changes. And I think that's okay, because I still enjoy playing guitar, and it's relaxing for me, and it just gives my mind a break from everything else that's kind of going on. Same thing when I listen to music, but coming back to that balance, of taking in all of this information, or taking in all of these things that are meant to be, entertainment. It can kind of have negative consequences if you're just consuming too much and not really putting anything out there. And that's the whole idea of urgency that I was talking about earlier. I'm just feeling like I just want to create something, need to create something. And it's really out of gratitude. It's because I love music and films and art, and I want to contribute to, the human experience or life or society or whatever, of different artists that came before me, and things that I've really enjoyed, and creating something and saying here's my interpretation of all of these things that I'm influenced by. Here's my interpretation of life, or just an idea that came into my head. And it's so crazy when an idea comes into your head and you're working on it, and then you have like the finished product. It's pretty wild, actually. And it's really exciting and kind of fuels you to make something else and get like a momentum going. And that's kind of where I find myself right now, in that momentum stage. I feel like I'm making a lot of things right now, creating a lot of things, and yeah, just getting it done. Just getting it done. That's a good way to put it. Just get it done. But also enjoying it. And powering through those times where it actually does turn into work, where it's not enjoyable. It's not necessarily enjoyable. It is work, and you have to get it done. But even in those moments, I'm growing and learning to enjoy the process. Learning to... I heard somebody say it. Learning to be comfortable in being uncomfortable. And that's usually when you're working on something in it, you know, something that started as being enjoyable now has shifted into becoming work, and finding comfort in that and in the process. Because in the past, like, I don't like that. So when it gets to that point, I usually find something else and start something else, because it's fun when you start something. And it's boring when you have to sit with something and you're banging your head against the wall on how to make it better or how to just finish it. And so I am growing in that, and I've gotten better at that. So high five me. Yeah, self-encouragement, you know, you have to do that sometimes too. Yeah, it's weird. I feel like I'm coming up on the end of this video,